I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I'm James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, please go to the book of Genesis, and we'll turn you over to Jeremy Disocam for our study of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. This is the 139th lesson in our study of Genesis. Yesterday we covered Genesis chapter 41, verses 1 to 13, discussing the dream of Pharaoh. If you missed that episode and would like to watch it, you can find it and all of our other podcasts on our website at www.eastendchurch.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/eastendchurchofchrist under the Walking Through the Bible Genesis playlist. Today we're going to begin with Genesis 41 verse 14 and read through verse 24. The text that you'll see on the screen is from the English Standard Version, but you're welcome to follow along with any version that you have. So let's now read Genesis 41 beginning at verse 14. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they quickly brought him out of the pit. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came in before Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. Joseph answered Pharaoh, It is not in me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, Behold, in my dream I was standing on the banks of the Nile. 7 cows, plump and attractive, came up out of the Nile and fed in the reed grass. 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and thin, such as I had never seen in all the land of Egypt. And the thin, ugly cows ate up the first 7 plump cows, but when they had eaten them, no one would have known that they had eaten them, for they were still as ugly as at the beginning. Then I awoke. I also saw in my dream 7 ears growing on one stalk, full and good. 7 ears withered, thin, and blighted by the east wind sprouted after them, and the thin ears swallowed up the 7 good ears. And I told it to the magicians, but there was no one who could explain it to me. In yesterday's episode, we discussed how 2 years had passed between the end of chapter 40 and the beginning of chapter 41. In that time, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer was restored to his position in Pharaoh's house, but Joseph remained in prison with little hope of getting out. Yet even though the cupbearer had abandoned Joseph, God had not. In fact, God was working, even though it was in his own time. We also discussed how Pharaoh dreamed a dream that none of his magicians and wise men could interpret. This angered Pharaoh, at which point the cupbearer remembered how Joseph had interpreted his dream. Upon hearing this, Pharaoh went and retrieved Joseph from prison. But before approaching the king, Joseph was given time to shave and change his clothing. Why would Joseph do this, seeing as how all that Pharaoh wanted was someone to interpret his dreams? He did this because Joseph respected the position that Pharaoh held, that being king of Egypt. He therefore wanted to present himself in such a manner that showed Pharaoh this respect. We do the same thing today. When we want to interview for a job, we generally put on the best clothing we have, whether it is formal dress clothes or more casual clothing. We ensure that our clothing has been properly washed and that we've showered and cleaned ourselves up so that we might impress the interviewer and hopefully get the job. We, however, wouldn't dress the same to go camping or to help someone move. Our appearance is dictated by the occasion and who we are meeting. Whether we're rich or poor, have formal clothing or not, when we go to meet people of importance or go to places of importance, we should dress accordingly, no matter what that clothing might look like. Upon seeing Joseph, Pharaoh is glad to see someone who could finally interpret his dreams. Joseph, knowing who was really interpreting, took the opportunity to tell Pharaoh that it was only God who would give him a favorable answer. Pharaoh then retells his dream to Joseph. He told him how in the dream he was standing by the Nile River, and out of the Nile River 7 fatted cows, followed by 7 sickly-looking cows, emerged. Unexpectedly, these 7 sickly cows then swallowed up the 7 fatted cows. We then get a piece of information that we didn't get earlier in the chapter, which was after the 7 sickly cows ate the 7 fatted cows, nobody could tell that they had eaten at all. Pharaoh then tells of his second dream, that of the ears of grain. In the dream, there were 7 plump ears of grain that grew on one stalk, as well as 7 thin ears of grain that were infected or spoiled by the east wind. These thin ears then swallowed up the 7 plump ears. Pharaoh then told Joseph that nobody could tell him the meaning of these dreams, but he was hopeful that Joseph, through God, could. A law was riding on this, for Pharaoh had the power to release Joseph and the power to kill him. We'll take up with the interpretation, the Lord willing, tomorrow. With that, our time is up for today. Please join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow, when we will continue our study of Genesis, beginning with Genesis 41, verse 25.
Thank you, Jeremy. And to our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have a question or comment, please leave them below or email them to answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we will be continuing on our study of the book of Genesis. Goodbye for now and have a great day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord.